Hey guys, Mountbatten here, and today I wanted to talk about tier 10 games. And I know I made a video on this not that long ago, but I had a match that I just couldn't believe what was going on. So I'm in Kremlin, all right, a pretty powerful ship and needs some toning down in my opinion. And Wargaming decides to tone it down by toning down its AA health. Not sure what that's gonna do, but okay, Wargaming. Hopefully you figure it out eventually. But anyway, so it's no secret that there's a lot of blowout going on at tier 10 right now. And blowout or steamroll games, for those that don't know, that's when like one side loses one, maybe two ships, and the enemy side or the other side just they lose everything, or they lose on points because no one wants to cap. And I made a video covering this, I think like a month ago. And I talked about how these blowout games, they're no fun on either side. I mean, I'm sure the other side, they're probably okay with it because they're winning. But when you're on that losing side, it's not fun. And it's no one person's fault usually on the enemy team. It's just that I don't know what's going on with some of these players. And I don't say this a lot because I'm an average player and I don't like criticizing other people too much unless they really, really screw up and it's really obvious. But just this team I had for this match, I don't know what they were doing. And the clip, I think it's only like a 7 or 6 minute clip because the game didn't go on. I don't think it made it to the 12-minute mark, honestly. So anyway, I spawn over by the C cap and no one's going to that cap except for a Shimakazu who gets dunked on by the carrier. So I'm like, okay, going to go to A. Now on this map, A is usually a trap where the team will push but they'll get stuck in A. But I was going to go there in the Kremlin and try to encourage people to be like, okay, go on, let's go, let's keep this momentum, because that can work. Lemming trains can work if the team pushes as a unit. A good lemming train that's not afraid to push is a very powerful force, and it can work, and I've shown that on this channel before, and I'm pretty sure most people have seen them work before, and as long as they don't stop, and the lemming train stops, that's the problem. But anyway, so I'm going to A, and enemy team caps B, enemy team caps C, and no one goes into A. And it's surrounded by, I think it's like 80% of my team. They're just sitting outside the cap. We have a destroyer that's sitting outside of the cap. We have cruisers that's sitting outside the cap. The furthest ship up on my team for a very long time was a Minotaur that was putting in work. A Minotaur was the furthest ship up for a very long time on this map. That's right, the paper mache Minotaur. So, I want to join the Brave Minotaur in the A cap. I go in, and there's no enemy ships capping it. So I'm in a Kremlin, a tier 10 battleship, sitting in the cap in front of destroyers and cruisers. Now, thankfully, our gearing does decide to to join me in the cap. But by the time he gets there, I'm being targeted by the enemy carrier and the enemy ships that can see me. And what you see me do is I pull up to the island that the enemy gearing is hiding behind. Now he's so low that if he pokes his head around the corner, I can easily one-shot him with the Kremlin. He's got like 3,000 health, and the Kremlin's guns at point-blank range are literally rail guns, so he'd be dead if he poked his head out. So I'm sitting there capping, waiting for the Kremlin waiting for the enemy gearing to come out. And the carrier starts to shoot to attack me along with the enemy ships in front of me as well, because I'm the only thing they have to shoot at. So anyway, I go down, and then like I think it's maybe 40 seconds later the match ends, and the score was like, I think we had like 30 something to 600 something, and we'd only sunk like 3 enemy ships, and they wiped the 4 of us. I think we had maybe 1 ship alive at the end. I think it was just a destroyer somewhere. Or they completely wiped us out. Yeah, no, they completely wiped us out because the match ended without them hitting or it might have ended by them hitting 1,000 points. I don't know. My team was completely useless except for like 2 or 3 players that actually bothered to push. So This was one of the most blowout games I've ever had. It was terrible, and it's not the worst though. The worst I had seen was it was over by like 5 minutes. I don't mean like when people say, "Oh, the match is over because of the choices the team made." No, the match was over in 5 minutes. Over, like they'd sunk all of us in 5 minutes, which was impressive. I was actually kind of impressed by that one. But anyway, I do not know what's gotten into people's minds nowadays. I have an idea though. It's mostly because people are afraid to push up, because if you push up nowadays and you get a little bit ahead of the pack, you get singled out so hard by carriers, ships like the Smolensk, ships like the Kremlin, ships that are a little bit more powerful than they need to be. They need to be toned back a little bit, and people are so afraid from, leaving the pack, that if you have a competent team that understands that you can leave the pack and you'll be all right, they get steamrolled so hard. Just it's crazy sometimes what happens, and it's not the fault of any one element of the game. It's not Carrier's fault. It's not the Smolensk and other similar ships' fault. It's not the Kremlin and other similar ships' fault. It might be the Slava's fault, because I hate that ship so much, and I hate just the idea of it. But it's a culmination of things that wargaming hasn't really buckled down on, and they do need to spend some time balancing some things out, in my opinion. Like the IFHE changes that are coming are much welcomed and pretty needed. But they've been pretty quiet on that. They've done a pretty good job of balancing out, CV versus AA, because there were some times when I'm sure we all remember that, when the pendulum with CVs was swinging from woefully underpowered to Hand of God, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And they've done a pretty good job of finding a happy medium, because I do think CVs are actually pretty okay now. I just think that people are just too afraid of them to do much. Because, yes, CVs are very good at singling you out, but you really shouldn't be leaving, everyone else behind and going up by yourself. And yeah, obviously you're going to get dunked on by a CV. You need to bring a buddy or two, because this is a team game and you need to work as a team. But not so much so to where you just stay in one type of glob in the corner of the map, because that's also something that I've been seeing a lot now. A whole lot. Whole teams running to one corner of the map, or to one cap and staying there and not leaving. Things like that they just need to work on balancing. And submarines, I think those are still a pretty long way away. They've already said, once they get introduced into the game, they're going to be in their own server, and then once they come to the main server, they're going to be on their own mode for a while, and then when they go to the main server, I still think that's probably a year off before that happens. So it looks like they're taking their time with submarines, because they learned their lesson from the CV rework, and I'm glad they're doing that. But they still need to focus on getting a lot of the mechanics right now, because they've introduced a whole lot of ships that take advantage of the current mechanics. Like just the HE spam cruisers, like Smolensk and Colbert. The volume of HE has gone up significantly in the game, but the effects of fire hasn't been toned down. When they introduced the CV rework, and now CVs can pretty much get guaranteed drops on you, that's great for the carriers. They cut back on the effects of flooding, because it's much easier now to get guaranteed torpedo hits and guaranteed flooding than before with the RTS, with your RTS carriers, because you could shoot down a whole squadron of torpedo bombers with a decent AA build back in the day, and they cut back on them now because they can pretty much guarantee you're gonna eat a torpedo or two. And it's not like they just cut down the carrier torpedoes; they cut down everybody's torpedoes. But they didn't do that with fire. The fire burn time is still the full minute, and yes, it's not because I think flooding was like a minute and 30 seconds before. They did tone it back on cruisers and destroyers, but for battleships it's still the full 50 seconds. And I think it's actually longer than that if you don't have any anti-fire stuff on, which just about everybody does. So that's one of the gripes about it. And with the IFHE changes, then, that is going to help out a bit with that, because I do think the way HE should be is you can have a really good fire chance, or you can have really good HE pin, where you can easily, have a very rapid firing HE spamming ship, and you can get decent HE pins and do, death by 1,000 paper cuts with a low chance of starting a fire, but you'll still set a good few fires because of the sheer volume of HE you can put out. Or you can have a ship that's really good at setting fires, but can't pin worth jack, which you don't need a pin if you're going for a flamethrower. And it looks like they're kind of going to that now. That might help out a little bit, but overall, it's not just the fault of HE spammy ships and fires. It's just the culmination of everything that Wargaming has just seemed to push back on balancing and tweaking and stuff. So it's no one thing's fault. It's just Wargaming I don't know. They've been focusing on putting out so many new tech line ships and so many new premium ships that they've kind of let the balance in the game go a little bit. And again, they are working on some fixes and changes, but they're not very vocal about what they're doing. I think they released, I can't remember the last time I heard something about the IFHE changes. It was just, I think 5 months ago, they released a proof of concept chart or something for the IFHE rework, and I haven't heard a whole lot since then. So I don't know if that means they're just working on it so hard, or they're just not working on it, because normally they're a bit more open about things like that. Like with the CV rework, it was updates almost every week almost with the IFHE changes. Unless they're just not posting it on any of their main sites and they're burying it in the forums like they did a lot of the Puerto Rico stuff. But I don't know. We'll see what they do. I do think they won't let the game slip. Well, actually I won't say that because they might. But I hope they do get a handle on it, because there really is no other game like this. There's a couple of cheap knockoffs. And then we have War Thunder Naval, which you guys saw what that looked like, and that didn't look that fantastic. But I do hope they get a fix on it, because Tier 10 is really suffering right now as far as quality of matches is going. And that's not to say I don't have good Tier 10 games. I still do have some very nice Tier 10 games every now and then. But it's kind of switching to where I had these terrible blowout games every now and then, and I had a lot of really good Tier 10 games back in the day, to where it's mostly blowouts, and I have a really good Tier 10 game every now and then. So that's what I think of that. I know I probably struck a nerve with some people, and the comments should be interesting, but that's just my opinion and what I'm seeing from playing mostly Tier 10 myself. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I hope you're having a great Tuesday, and if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We are on our way to 8,000 subscribers. You guys can help us get there quite quick. Anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.